All right. I'm going to try something here. Hello. So, Saturday, I wanted to say morning, but it's Saturday afternoon. And yeah. So, what I get when we all know how to sleep in, or in my case, I work shift and it takes a while for me to get back into the swing of sleeping at night like a normal person. Anyway, enough about me. So, thought everyone's chill, no real plans, doing laundry. So, I thought maybe get at the laundry board. So today is going to be working on Witchblade. Never really got into the book growing up. This was about the point where my comic collecting was starting to fade. A large part of that was the store I was initially buying the comics from was in the phase processes of closing down. So when I had to find a new store, I just opted to cut a lot of titles I was reading. And for whatever, I heard that the Witchblade stuff was great. I never got into it. I may actually start checking it out. But enough blabber. I'm going to start working on this now. So I've already done a bulk of the drawing. This seems a little... Let me see if I can get a better shot here. There. So I've got a little bit of reference, if you can see where I've got here. I actually have like some Witchblade art to try to get an idea of how this gauntlet works, because I have not seen a consistent version of this gauntlet yet, which makes actually drawing a little bit. As for the pose and body type, I pulled this reference here, cosplayer Belle Cher in a Magneto costume, but I kind of like that pose. I like the grimace. I like the hand gesture, which you can attach Witchblade to that, make it believable. So I've got my references, and I've done a good chunk of the actual groundwork and whatnot here. Instead of me trying to work out the pose and all that in real time this time, that hasn't worked out for me as well lately. So now I can just focus on, I've got my form, I've got a lot of stuff, so now I can just kind of noodle and get the details, and maybe depending on how I'm feeling, we can get that. So all right, so let's see, I'm going to move my Witchblade to the left side of me because I'm working right hand to left, and then underneath I've got an extra bit of board here from a failed what I do, oh, it would help if you can see that. So I've got a bit of a failed attempt at Spider-Man here that I did not too long ago. Usually I don't throw those out right away because these are pretty useful for testing my colors, testing my inks, all that nifty stuff. So, all right, I'm just going to do a stupid little test here. And can you see me? Yes. All right. Perfect. So now I don't have to have the restream on. I will test YouTube. I never get the never really get the Try something here. Actually, I'm not going to worry about it. Because apparently YouTube doesn't like me going live while I'm actually drawing, so I won't be able to do the normal test thing. So what I did a little bit here is I sketched everything out. My Jean-Michel Blackwing, which is a soft pencil. Now, anyone that's seen me do an awkward unboxing knows that I don't dislike the pencils, softer pencils, but I'm not always a huge fan of the soft graphite. But what I do find is nice about the soft graphite, especially if I apply a soft enough touch, is it is great for figuring out my sketch, because it shows up dark enough, but like while pressing very light, but I can also, because I can press very light, it disappears relatively quickly. And I'm just going to move my scrap piece over here, actually. There. I keep that under here, so I can focus on there. I'm going to go back in with a firm piece. This is just kind of, yep, that was me hitting the microphone. Maybe I can get some. I want to try one more thing here. Do-do. Do-do. Facebook. I'm really sorry about this. I don't get a lot of viewers in general, but at the same time, I want to try to build an audience, and I keep forgetting. Post. All right, and I'm there. Sorry that had. This is how absent-minded I get. So, hopefully, I'll actually see some people today. So, as I was saying, now that I've kind of drawn everything in with the soft pencil, I'm going to go back in with my firmer pencil now. I don't know how because I'm not super familiar with Witchblade outside of reading on Wikipedia, and if I were to ask friends I have that are fans of Witchblade, I can probably get a more detailed answer. So this is a little bit out of my scope. But I get the feeling that from what I've seen, a lot of a lot of this costume is kind of similar to, just to use a character I am familiar with, Spawn's cape, or Venom's symbiote, being kind of a degree, like alive to a degree, which means which means that the outfit changes shape accordingly, which would probably explain me, like, not actually owning any of the comics, doing my Google search and finding that there hasn't been two drawings alike of this, and this is kind of those. Nope, that's not working for me. Actually, it's showing up where I need it to. Nope, it is not. There. But yeah, just because of how inconsistent the being a living thing that can kind of change itself hasn't been a super consistent look that I've observed. But this is me kind of observing as an outsider what this is. If I read the book growing up or was looking at reading the relaunches, probably have more of an answer. But for any of the younger people in the audience wondering why they always heard 90s comics were late, it was because of stuff like this. Making overly elaborate costumes that took forever to draw. And it's not a knock. I grew up in this era and love this era too. I actually kind of made my collecting in that era pretty easy. Mainly because the books like the first wave of Image books I was reading growing up were almost never on time or were shipping months apart. So it actually, for the first year, it actually made it very easy to afford the books because only came out every few months. Especially for any Pit fans, it was like 7 months. Like the first 4 issues took initially like over a year to get out. So there's some stuff in my reference here that I'm probably not going to transition here, mainly because of the position I have her elbow for the shot here. I don't want her stabbing herself, so. I'll look at my reference. I'm not going to be able to get the lips here perfectly. I'm going to try. That might be something I play with if I get around to inking and coloring this. See how I feel about. No. Just for expediency's sake, I am going to leave that part alone. All right. I'm using my 2-point sharpener here. Always use these wrong as a kid, but help me get a nice sharp point now that I've grown a preference for these black wings. Again, I'm going to be deviating a fair bit. Yeah. I don't think there's an element here that is consistent enough for me to kind of mess up. And I'm going to allude to some things on her shoulder here. Try to incorporate a bit of that because her shoulder's not going to stab her abdomen. That's why I don't put that microphone there typically. And when I ink that, if I get around to inking that today, that's going to be a little thinner, just to indicate that it's a background. Okay. This is a weird. So it almost looks like she's like the Witchblade has formed metal hands just to provide an undergarment support. Looks like in between here, there's more of this webbing. Hey, Kirk. Not much. Just doing some sketching on this lovely Saturday afternoon. I meant to do it in the morning, but I've developed this thing about being able to sleep in. Also, I find it's hard to get back into the swing of being on or sleeping at night when after coming off a night shift at my day shift job. But yeah, no, just doing a quick drawing of Witchblade. A bulk of the drawing I was doing on the off time, so I didn't have any frustrations of working out the pose, getting the pose wrong, and all that, especially with the character I'm not super super comfortable drawing, because despite the fact that I was a 90s comic guy initially, this was coming at a point where my comic collecting was getting a little pared down, and the crash was starting to hit my little neck of Canada. My primary comic store had closed at the era this was coming out. So when I found another store to reopen a file with, books that I was reading from the first store weren't making the cut, and I wasn't like picking up. Yeah, it was definitely a time. But yeah, I keep wondering. I've got a buddy who is heavy into Witchblade. I might consider trying it out again, starting a relaunch right now. I don't know if I want to get in on that or actually get in on the original series, because that was the first, like the first career point of the late great Michael Turner, and he was being touted as the next big thing. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, but just a bit of a test. Like, obviously, if you're responding, you can hear me all right. I put my microphone in front of me here instead of to the side with my computer. So I'm wondering if that's working, and I won't find out until I actually look over and cringe watch this on my Twitch and YouTube. Michael Turner was my dude. Okay, great. Yeah, he always showed up at the he always showed up at the fan expos, and from what I understand, he was a very friendly dude who like just said hi to everyone, like, apparently so friendly you'd almost think he was Canadian himself. But it was a sad day. He passed away far too young. Far too young. He passed away at 37 years old. I remember the friend we were talking about who did Witchblade last week on his live Instagram feed. He actually called me up to tell me that he passed away. And 37 is just way too young of an age to go. Meanwhile, I'm thinking I hit 47 in January. Let's see. Oh. Yeah, so far I don't know if you were here for the first part, Kirk, but I was explaining my processes because I had this like pre-sketched out before starting. I started sketching with a soft lead, um, so I can press ultra light and it shows up dark enough for me to see and very easy to erase. And now I'm kind of fine tuning with a firmer pencil, finding that's working for me. I was trying the Ryan Benjamin method earlier, but I wonder if I have too much of a heavy hand. I'll get my where I'd use pretend this is red for a second. Yeah, I find that it was easier for me to erase away my construction lines and all that and they erased away pretty easily. The stuff I pressed in a little darker showed up way lighter while erasing very lightly. Now I use my firmer pencil to kind of um, get there. Watching a lot of Ryan Benjamin videos of late. He is he's an artist whose evolution has just been astounding. He was I remember starting to see him like in the Wildstorm days, like early on when I was collecting. I liked his stuff. I kind of felt bad because he'd have to do a fill-in for like a guy like Will Spertaccio, and I'd buy the book for Wilson, like, oh, I got Ryan Benjamin. Meanwhile, like, no, but Ryan Benjamin's cool. Like, great artist and no problem with deadlines. But mm-hmm. But Ryan Benjamin would always do his construction with a red pencil, and we know like Evan and a lot of our influences do that as well. You've been doing some awesome like red line sketches. I find like the red and blue pencils, even the Cool Erase, get a little trickier to erase. So now remember, he every Monday night, but he stopped streaming. Okay, that's fair. I haven't. I'll have to. Yeah, you're right. There was a point where I used to catch the odd live stream from him on Twitch. A lot of what I've been watching of his lately has been reruns on his YouTube channel, and especially through Proco. And now I'm just making some stuff up here. But yeah, he was always fun to watch live. Actually, I think his YouTube has gotten to be great. And I think Evan on Cartoon Block's YouTube channel, when he's gotten a commission, he's had Ryan Benjamin do a few things that like a few commissions that turn out absolutely amazing. But yeah, he's always no, but it's always fun watching him. I remember for a point in my 20s and 30s, I started to get a lot more into the animated style, the image stuff, the insane rendering and all the line work and the complicated costumes had fallen in my circles, had fallen out of vogue, out of fashion. Sorry, and one of the things I was looking at was for art style, as I was starting to, I wasn't reading as much uh, comics. Funny thing, when you move out and start having things like rents and mortgages and stuff like that, you don't have as much money for as many comics, but you can always share your cable bill. So, in those aughts era, DC kind of was kind of king. So I was watching a lot of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and like was starting to look more at the animated styles, which is deceptively difficult because you look at it, it looks like line art. But when you try to draw something in that animated style, and you have to rely on, like, you can't over render or put in extra line work, and then learning how to do all your heavy lifting in the colors. That was a entirely different process for me. But now, between gentlemen like Ryan Benjamin and of course our boy Evan, started to put a lot of those things together that I like, and bam. So God, I do realize even with people I ramble a lot. All right, and then figure out, because I have an arm here by the side. Neither my reference sketch had a bit of an arm here, but I couldn't make that work initially, so I just kind of had an arm to the side. But yeah, I remember Evan showed a Ryan Benjamin video. It was drawing Wonder Woman, and it took 15 minutes for him in real time. It was a cover, and like all things on the internet, there was one dumb comment. Like, you get the odd comment of, "Oh, this part isn't super anatomically correct," which, don't get me wrong, anatomical correctness is important in a drawing, but it's not for me, it's not the be all and end all. And another one was, "Oh, big deal, I can draw that in 15 minutes." So I chimed in, like, "Okay, let's see you draw it." I never did get a response from that guy. Like, no 15-minute real time Wonder Woman. Lord knows I wouldn't be able to do a real time Wonder Woman in 15 minutes. I'd be too afraid to try. But that's the one thing that was great. That's great about Ryan's video. Like, he shows us like the techniques, like the important art stuff, but he's also kind of showing how to be fast. That's the other thing that always kind of hinders me a little bit. I'd see, like, read interviews or whatnot, or have friends, and like, "How long did it take you to draw this page from start to finish?" And there'd be and some, you'd like, I have a friend that amazing artist all around, but he specializes in backgrounds. Like, his backgrounds are beautiful. Like, there's no doubt that in your mind when you're watching these backgrounds, that, like, this is an actual building. There's architecture to it. It doesn't look like cardboard boxes or fake building, like, so when he'd say it would take 16 hours to get a page from start to finish, looking at the buildings, like I could see that. But having like someone like Brian Benjamin like construct a page and like watch him actually put out like a fully realized, like out of his head, what looked like a few minutes, like this is the one thing I kind of wish I had when I was a kid growing up, that we all take for granted now, is we call YouTube University. Like not like in order for me, like for all of us to want to learn draw, like we have one college, Sheridan, that does have cartooning, that does have like drawing comics, drawing animation, so on and so forth. But I did not think I had the skills to get into that school. So I went to the school I ended up going and learning graphic design now. What was great about that is I learned a lot of, I didn't learn a great deal about drawing. At the time I was going to school, things like Photoshop and like doing everything digitally, like that was starting to be common practice. So I didn't get as much drawing old school. The graduates before me, like a lot of their stuff had to be hand done, and then once the computer labs started coming in, and once we were able to do that, like I learned a lot more about Photoshop and Illustrator, and back then Quark Express, which from what I understand from my recent Adobe canceling, Quark Express is still around for desktop publishing. So I learned a lot of nuts and bolts of that stuff. Like I had, like after I graduated, I had to relearn how to draw, like almost completely. And as I was getting back to the internet not being a consumer product back then, especially in the rural town I grew up in, there weren't I did end up taking a comic class from a graduate of the Joe Kubert School about 2 years after I graduated college. Little art studio about half hour north of where I'm at, and this gentleman was a graduate of the Kubert School, and the class, there was about maybe 6 of us. Me, who was wanting to be serious about relearning how to draw this stuff. Then longtime friend whose parents actually own the comic store. I was talking about my ramblings earlier on in the video. So the two of us, like actually like coming into with at least a intermediate understanding of comic stuff in this class, and then the rest of the class was all older teachers that just wanted to kind of spice up their classroom talk, which again, admirable. But sorry, I am completely faking this arm right now. What time am I at now? 45 minutes already, and I've been doodling on here. I wonder if I should get to inking. What do you think, Kirk? Are you still on here? Think I should get some inking done? might consider some inking. So what I'm going to do is because I've hit the point now where my ink here is almost to the bottom, so pop that up. Oh, here, a little escargot tray. I did not buy this for the escargot. I'm finding, though, picked this up from Terry Moore, Strangers in Paradise. What's great about that is if you have, like, the well is deep enough, I can actually get my quill here. Let's see. I'll start here, start at the claw. And this isn't going to be a smooth line for me. I can kind of get away with these being a little more organic. And like I said, for the back plates here, I'm going to go in much thinner here. And I get the feeling this would have been better if I was left-handed. So I'm not blocking. Now, Kirk, if you're still on here, I'm using my quill tip here. Is that like that grinding noise? Is that really showing up on the mic? I'm also kind of faking here a bit too. So for anyone that's listening and hearing this grinding, that is my quill. All right. So let's thicken that. What I might do after this, I might actually get because I don't have any good active like thicker nibs at the moment. But what I might actually do is go over the outline with a bit of a brush and go from there. I do use brush pens. Let me see if I can actually get at them. Ah, here we are. I do use a brush pen. I use my Pentel pocket brush. And I also have, let's see if I can find it here. I do have my Copic multiliner. My Pentel I found on Amazon. You find them to be hard at times. Yes. They are a little bit, they can be a little difficult. But yeah, because I've been in a bit of like an old school kick lately, a lot of I've been using more like the actual like old school brushes and these quills. I find using like something like the multiliner and like the pens, I don't get as dark of a like black ink as I'd like. Especially when I go to color over. Now the upside is those pens do dry a lot quicker. But one thing I am really digging now that I'm kind of back in this old school mode is like using the India ink actually is like shows up nice and dark, and when I go to overlay this with color, the Copics don't drown, like my color doesn't drown out the ink. Because that was a big problem I had using the multi-liners and with like the Copics. I don't know how much of this I'll be doing with Copic or because we've been on a bit of a watercolor kick. Like you've seen my Miles Morales headshot that I did with the crew. Most of that was old school inks and watercolors, but I did apply some Copics. Okay, oh, that's right, you did. Yeah, I actually like that one. I even have a bit of even found a way to deal with the paper buckling because I still haven't figured out how much water, like what I can do to limit the buckling on the paper, but apparently it's just one of those things that's there. But I found that if I spray the back of a finished piece, once it's initially dry, if I spray the back side with a little bit of water, and then I'll have a piece of like sheet of cooking paper, and I'll put my painting face down, and then put a giant book or binder on top of that, wait a day, and by the next day it's perfectly flat. Because I ran out of watercolor paper, so this is my Bristol board, but I'm at a point where I've got a ton of paper, so I'm trying to use up the paper that I have before I buy more. And I'm just going to fake, because I think for the hair, I'll switch to my brush. So one of these days I'll also get brave enough to try an ink wash. So I'm going. So yeah, I think. And this isn't exactly what I drew in. I am going to fake that. Little bits here. And again, not actually having followed Witchblade when I was a kid, but from all the reference that I've seen, awful lot of wiggle room to kind of change, like deviate from the initial design and change it up, which is kind of one of the nice things about characters like this that are whose armament is a living entity. You're not super constrained to a design. And I remember in my comic, a lot of my comic art education actually came from the pages of Wizard magazine every month. For a while there, it was a lot of drawing tutorials from Bart Sears. And then some point early on, it then turned to lessons with Greg Capullo. And then a little while later, it turned into guest artist of the month. And there were 2 points from a couple of artists that I kind of paid attention to, probably a little more than some of the other lessons I might have should have been listening to, was Daryl Banks in 94, 95. I'm trying to remember roughly, but it was one of his costume tutorials. And Daryl Banks, I'm not sure. He was the one that designed the original Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. But the lesson broke down like the style choices he did with Kyle Rayner, like why he chose some of the things he did and whatnot, and how like complex or simple he did. And he drew there was a character he created, I can't remember what it was, but he had 3 I think the middle one he ended up doing, the first one was like your standard like 60s fare, like skin tight costume, maybe a belt, maybe boots, maybe like underwear on the outside. Nothing wrong with it. Like all the elements were there. But if like for the time it felt dated. The next one goes too far. It was like a very heavily armored look with like a ton of pouches, straps, and like with blades sticking out in spots that aren't super practical, so on and so forth. A lot of line work and all that, which wasn't like, as far as his lesson went, because the thought is, okay, you don't want to create your costumes too complex because you have to draw that outfit 22 pages a month, like every month. So it like when you're taking into mind that in theory, you'd be in and out the same book, like month in, month out for years at a time, maybe the odd fill in if you're sick or had an emergency assignment sprinkled in the middle. It it was no, I always love the I always there were articles I always loved in there, but the drawing section, that was and once they started getting in the guest artists, excuse me, like a fish, you'd be able to get like different takes and whatnot. But yeah, the Daryl Banks, and in 2001, Crisscross. I don't know if you're familiar with his art, but he did a fashion design too. He introduced some concepts, and I remember this was he was doing Captain Marvel for Marvel with Peter David back at that era. So, and not even just costume designs, but character designs. Like he had this thing where he was drawing, because that Captain Marvel starred Rick Jones being bonded to the original Marvel's son, Genis Vel, bonded with Quantum Band, so the two of them couldn't exist in the same space at the same time. But he was drawing Rick Jones to be a little more up to date with that point of the 21st century, and kind of based a lot of his looks and styles from Ricky Martin instead of like generic 70s dude. But that was the other thing. But those two, like, I was getting my costume designs. But yeah, the Daryl Banks piece, like, right, don't want to make this too don't want to make these costumes too tricky, because you have to draw them 22 pages a month every month and keep them straight. And a lot of these characters got so complicated that, yeah, I was I just still am. I was a big fan of his writing. I was collecting his Incredible Hulk run with particularly with Dale Keown. And that was that arc where they were able to merge all the Hulk's personalities and have like a fully functioning, like, Green Hulk strength, Gray Hulk personality, all with Bruce Banner's being in control. That was one of those landmarks. And then I started backtracking on the Peter David stuff with like Todd McFarlane too. But yeah, that, like, the Peter David Hulk was something I kept up with. After Dale Keown left, though, I wasn't collecting the Hulk as consistent. Like, I'd pick up the odd thing when Gary Frank was doing the run. I was back into a somewhat consistent Hulk reading with when Peter David was writing with Adam Kubert on art. Is that okay? Make sure that is dry. But yeah, and his name would I have to go out and start getting collected editions of Young Justice. I heard that was pretty good. I don't know why I wasn't picking that up back in the day. Like early on, that was Peter David doing writing and Todd Knock doing the art, and I was a fan of Todd Knock. That was for me, that was like one of those breakout, like each studio, like of the Image guys I was reading back in the day had a few breakouts that I was paying attention to a little more than most. And out of that second wave of Extreme Studios, Todd Knock was the one I was kind of paying attention to. So yeah, I'm not sure why I wasn't picking up Young Justice. Peter David writing, Todd Knock doing the artist. Yeah, I've gotten back into reading myself. Started getting floppies again. Right now I'm like on my regular pull list. I have Savage Dragon and the Robert Kirkman studioed Transformers books. I had one more mini series on there that just wrapped up last month. The Displaced I was reading. But yeah, a lot of comics. Like for a while there, I stopped picking up comics monthly in general. Once I got laid off from my job after shortly after my honeymoon. So for a lot of years, we were in kind of survival mode, and comics weren't key to survival. And then the comic store was getting that from closed down in the middle of that transition. And then when my layoff was over and I felt that when I had some breathing room to read again, I still wasn't buying books in the shop. The shops that were still open, anytime I'd go to pick something up, it was always this like off-putting conversation with the clerk. Oh, you're reading that comic? I guess not all of us can be intellectuals. Haha. Like sort of thing. And like I wasn't. And then the follow-up would be like some of the most inane like crap. Also, what got me out of monthly comics, I have to say, is like unfortunately, and I'm probably part of the problem in this case, is the trade waiting. Like reading monthly books when I was a kid, there wasn't a guarantee. There wasn't a guarantee that the books you were collecting would be collected at the in a soft cover or hardcover at the end of a story arc or at the end of 6 years. I mean, heck, comics like when I was a kid, like not every issue was like a 6 to 8 issue. 6 to 8 issue story that was easy to collect in a trade. So, but in the last 20-25 years, that changed. And that kind of changed a little bit of my collecting habits too. Because I was like finding that Well, for one, for everyone that says that comics are dying because, oh, comic stores are closing, I can't get my comics at the convenience store at the 7-Eleven when I was a kid, and you can't, and that's unpleasant, or they've priced themselves to be like they price themselves a little too expensive for my blood. But these days, like every comic book is collected in a nice like hardcover after a year, 6 months. I was reading New Avengers, but I wasn't picking it up monthly when Brian Bendis and David Finch were doing it. I ended up buying the thick hardcover. It's about the first year worth of stories, but what I liked about doing that was all those, I didn't have to chase all the variants. Like they came included as part of the back matter. Like you see every variant cover all put together, all the pinups, and you'd even get like the extra stuff like Brian Bendis and David Finch would have commentaries in the back. And the nice thing about that too was I noticed at conventions when I was at comic conventions, if some of these artists or writers were there, like yes, they are awesome. But yeah, like it, like for about a comparable, I found that like getting the like a hardcover or even soft cover was um like by the time you did the math on buying the monthly books was like there wasn't much of a price gap. Buy that at the end of the year, you got a year's worth of story, like with beginning, middle, and end, and maybe a bit of a hook. You got all the goodies. And the nice thing too is at conventions, I started noticing a lot of creators kind of put a limit on how many books you can bring to get signed. Um, some didn't, some did. And I never knew who, like, which was which. So I found that it was like very easy for me to get one, like volume one of New Avengers hardcover. That's one book. So, got it signed by like my copy signed by David Finch. Steve McDivitt had an autograph in there. I'm trying to remember who else, but one book. And if you're only allowed to bring like five, like three or five books with you in the line, having like an entire arc with a hardcover, that's easy enough to, oh, here's my one book. And you get like a year, or if you've got an omnibus, like 2, 3, 5 years. I have Amazing Spider-Man omnibus, the volume one, which was the entirety of Steve Ditko's run. Now, unfortunately, Steve Ditko never gave autographs, and stupid me never thought to, because a lot of people used to get around that by writing Steve Ditko, sending a book, can you sign this? And instead of getting the book autographed, you'd get a letter back from Steve Ditko explaining in great detail why he didn't sign autograph, but you'd still have a letter from Steve Ditko, autographed by Steve Ditko, which was more extremely more personalized, and I never thought to do that. But I did think to get that one signed by Stan Lee. Yeah, but like one big book, one autograph. Um, but yeah, like this is I think this is one of the things that we kind of did to ourselves, like or comics kind of did themselves when they started doing trades. Because again, even as a kid, there wasn't a guarantee that the arc I was getting would be done up in a trade, or if it was done up in a trade, like it was it going to be like a year, 2, 3. Like there are still runs that they haven't done in kind of any kind of hardcover format to this day, and which I think is criminal. Particularly a spectacular Spider-Man run I was reading in the 90s with Sal Buscema doing the art. Like that hasn't been collected, and that was some really great stuff. But yeah, these days you wait like at the end of a story arc, you wait like a week after that, hardcover becomes available. You get the entire story, you get all the variants, you get all the like extras, you get the sketchbook, and it's there on one nifty thing that you can put on a bookcase. Now, pointing this bookcase is a bad example because that's my Transformer collection. Um, but I keep that there because that's my plumbing is up there, and you remember my drama with like I can replace like toys get flooded, I can replace them easy, but there are some books that I have that I don't want to replace. Again, books that I have signed by like Stan Lee or John Romita Sr. or what have you. Unfortunately, some of the names that I listed are no longer with us. So, but yeah, but I think trade waiting is like they keep saying trade waiting is kind of what's damaging like the monthly sales. But that is, but at the same time, oh, thank you. At the same time, if like monthly comics aren't willing to do like do like a two-part story or like a one-issue story or have a collection of like one issue or like more anthology series, like the art or like the self-contained issues like Archie, then yeah, you're gonna have trade waiting. I also find with trade waiting, because this is the other thing people, all the doomsayers in comics also forget. When I was a kid, used to be able to get like comic books at either like at the grocery store or the 7-Eleven, or you can go to a dedicated comic shop. Those were your options. You went into a Barnes and Noble. We have as had was Chapters. It's now Indigo, but like a legitimate bookstore. They didn't. They wouldn't didn't have like collected comics. These days, these bookstores actually have like sections for like American comics collected, manga collected, and like my wife has a kind of a like a membership card. You pay a small little price once a year, and you get on top of sales, you get on top of sales, you also get things like deals on books. So I've been able to get like entire comics, and because using my wife's what we call plum points, I was able to get my comic for about a solid 20% off. Let me wheel away and just kind of show, see if I can grab without knocking a bunch of crap over. Some of the stuff I was like able to get at a bookstore for like just to throw that there, like stuff that I wasn't collecting early on. Like I wasn't reading like Fantastic Four as a kid, and I ended up getting this epic collection at a bit of a sale and a discount. And this was like an arc that also had like the new Fantastic Four, where Spider-Man, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, and the Hulk became the Fantastic Four for a couple of issues, drawn by Arthur Adams. I don't know how I missed that when I was a kid. And then another one I got at a discount at a mainstream bookstore. This is Spider-Man, like the Todd McFarlane collection. But But yeah, and like what's nice about that book is on top of like sketch cover and some of the covers, it also had Todd McFarlane's retirement letter, like at the end of issue 16 when he quit Spider-Man, became a family man, was and would eventually wind up being at Image Comics. All right, this is going to be, you know what? I'm going to hold off on that for a bit. But yeah, these days we have like those comics are available, and those were like mainstream bookstores. Those weren't available at mainstream bookstores when I was a kid. Um, my local library, there is an entire section like dedicated to a dedicated section for like again American comic trades and hardcovers. There's a section for like manga, and some of those sections are divided up even by age group as well. Um, I can't speak on your behalf, like for the libraries in the US, Kirk, but here, like when I was a kid, we didn't like the only comics that were available at our local library was maybe a collection of Garfield, maybe, or like something like, or like old Peanuts, which again, not bad, but that was your only. Those were your only options. So yeah, like these days you can get like sign out and that was a lot of my comic reading while I was laid off because a library card um, doesn't cost anything. As long as you bring your book back on time, you're good. So yeah, we don't have like we can't pick up our comics at the 7-Eleven anymore, but we have bookstores that we can get them at a discounted price. We can get we have the libraries. We can check out books for free. I kind of wish there were libraries dedicated to just like a wing dedicated to just comic and graphic storytelling, and have the as wide of a collection as possible, and maybe get us into the comic stores and narrow down what we want to order. Because I think like price point too is another important thing. Because I don't know, like I know like $5 for a single issue is more expensive than like the dollar 25 it used to be, but like no one wants to risk plopping down $5, $10, whatever on a book, find out you don't like it, and then you're stuck with it. Like another thing that I did too, before Comixology got bought out by Amazon, but Comixology was I found was nice too. A little cumbersome to buy because you couldn't just buy and download on the app, but used to be able to get books for cheap there or free. I remember when Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away. Comixology gave out a bunch of like Black Panther comics through their website for free, and just they were free purchases. They're still on my phone. They're still on my iPad, and it was just like a series of collections. Or whenever a comic movie would come out, um, Comixology used to have a few key issues for free. They don't do that as much anymore, but I still do like I still do like using like the Kindle. I've actually done that with. I was really excited for X-Men '97, and now I was now the downside about being a '90s comic guy was I didn't get to see a lot of the really good stuff, comic stuff in the '80s. So I actually bought a few digitally, like say Uncanny X-Men 200, which had the trial of Magneto, which was the basis of the second episode, was also the origin of the costume with the M on it. But like I didn't have to pay like a ridiculous like fee for the back issue. Um, but yeah, but the fact that I could actually get like if I wanted to look up like if I wanted to look up like a particular story or an arc, like to be able to do that on my tablet instantly, like that's something too. I don't have the Marvel Unlimited. I tried it, but I couldn't get it. Like, I guess back then my iPad was a little out of date, so it wouldn't work properly. I might give it a second chance, but at the same time, I don't, I don't know if I like the idea of paying for a subscription, like without actually having to own things. But we do like for as much as it was taken away from the comic, like from comics when we were kids, there's a lot of stuff that replaced and which actually kind of makes them a little easier to get at these days. So I'm going to switch a little bit here. Sorry, I just went right off on the tangent. So, but yeah, I think if like to put it shortly, yeah, the books I still pick up monthly right now are Transformers. I haven't made up my mind if I'm going to adjust that collection, so I do more of a trade weight. But monthly, the one book I've never given up monthly in some form or fashion or another is Savage Dragon. That one, I like even with my layoff, and once I was back from layoff, I was able to buy the back issues I was missing on Comixology. So I've got a block that's digital. But back in the Comixology days, every Christmas there'd be a sale on Image back issues. So I'd actually be able to get like a lot of the issues for like 99 cents each. So I think the other thing, and I think comic shops in general, this is a behavioral thing. Some shops will have to change. Is like I hinted earlier on about some of the experiences I've had at my local comic shops. If you buy something, gets into the ew, why are you buying that? And kind of insulting your purchases. Um, whether they intended to or not, but just kind of a like there's a way to say you don't like something without being insulting. Um, and we've all done it to a degree. I'm just as guilty as anyone else. Um, like because it's easy to say, "Oh, this isn't good. This sucks." But the downside of that is if even if you're in the majority of people who don't like something, there's going to be someone that likes something. Again, me being a 90s kid, like collecting in the 90s, I was loving the hell out of that. But, oh, libraries do have a section just for manga and Marvel and DC comics. Nice. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about now. When either one of us were kids, I'm pretty sure those libraries did not have like a section for comic books. In the 80s, we didn't like because I didn't live near a comic book store. Like we had the convenience store, and you at the convenience store you'd get one Spider-Man, and I didn't know there was like four different Spider-Man books, but one month it'd be Amazing Spider-Man. The next month the store would order Spectacular. The month after Web of, or what have you. But it wasn't like the stores were getting Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man both 12 months at a time. It wasn't a big but the books I was collecting off the shelves then whenever they came in was Transformers. That was that was my jam as a kid. I still have all of the books I had because again I wasn't able because again due to the infrequency of the store. Um, I didn't. Back then, it was just covers I was looking at, and not till I started a family did I start reading them. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to like again Transformers. I was doing a lot of reading because I love Transformers, and but again because of the inconsistencies of the store, I didn't get them on a monthly basis. I guess the upside for me is I have one. Oh, ouch! No, dude, no. Your ex brother-in-law over took them all over 500 books. Oh my God. Well, that's good, and that's I think the other thing why I feel like I've been reading less like monthly comics, or I just buy it like, or when I do buy a book, it's oh, your ex brother-in-law did you dirty. Um, but I think I'm in the same boat as far as now that you're drawing more, you're not reading as much, and I'm finding that too. Like I'm not reading as many books anymore. Like since I started to file back at my local comic store, we had a nice long chat about what got me out of like about going to the local comic stores for monthlies. But yeah, I find that yeah, the only like books I was looking forward to was Dragon. Um, but I also find that if I'm only like collecting like two books a month when I go to the comic store to get them, um, I'm also finding that I've got like a budget for like a hardcover, like an art book, because baseball and football. Oh, ouch. Oh my God, that is awful. I am sorry all of that happened. Yeah, I'm gonna put the brush back for a sec. Remember which one I grabbed. Back to the quill. Oh, um, but yeah, I think I'm in the same boat with you. Like since I started like drawing a lot more, like I'm not reading as much comics, and it's one thing I do notice. Most like comic pros find once they start like actually doing this for a living, like they're not actually reading a lot of stuff anymore. Oh, that's good. That's good. Um, I still have to. I lost a bunch of comics from the flood, and I'm trying to figure out which way to go about. Because a lot of them that were missing was a block of Savage Dragon books that I'm now missing. I think I may have gotten them back digitally, um, taking advantage of uh, some of the 99-cent sales. Um, but yeah, oh, but yeah, I'm definitely not reading much for newer books anymore. Like I should have been excited about John Romita Jr. coming back to Spider-Man after his stint at DC, but I never brought myself to get that. I might wait for it to be in the final hardcover. Um, I heard the story wasn't. I've heard a couple of extremes about the story. Either it's great or it's not. Um, but again, that's going back to the trade waiting. But yeah, it seems that my collected, like when I'm like you're seeing the books I'm collecting, it's the stuff that I missed out on or I have holes in my collection from the era when I was a kid. And I'm just faking this arm entirely now. But yeah, but just trying to think. I remember buying the X-Men's last big relaunch into the Krakoan era. I remember. Hmm. I there was a stretch again where again I'm not reading as much comic books, but I am like picking up more of the art books. Like I've got. Let me see if I can find it here. Where did I have it? And is it buried somewhere ridiculous? Uh, it may be buried somewhere. It may be buried somewhere ridiculous, but no, I ended up getting the artist edition of John Romita Sr.'s Spider-Man. Excuse me. And I can't find it, but the art books are great because like the pages are scanned in, and like the pages have aged, they've yellowed. You can see where whiteout was applied. You can see where they actually yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. What they inked properly with a brush, what they used with a Sharpie because they didn't have a brush on hand. Um, Maybe with the newer stuff, they ended up doing the taking the notepad over and redrawing hair, you know, like how Evan showed us. I do. Okay. I don't have one of those. I don't have a Punisher book yet. All right. Get back my brush so I can get his arm in here. I'm dipping a little too much into. Punch that side a bit there. But yeah, just not wrong. Like I don't read as like many. Like nothing gets me super excited about some of the monthly books anymore. Louisiana. Oh, I haven't been to Louisiana since I was a kid. Family and I, for a few years, went with another family, drove down to Florida from southern Ontario. It'd take us a few days of driving to get down there, chill for a few days, and then spend a few days driving back. Our last trip, which happened when I was 14, um, the other family continued on. They were the ones that actually had property in Florida, um, and we'd rent a space. From what I understand, it was a bit of a work trip. My dad did. He was a electrician, so I guess I'm not sure of the specifics. But anyway, so the last year we went, the other family booked it to Florida. We took a detour and went through Louisiana. We stopped through New Orleans. New Orleans, sorry, you call it New Orleans. I remember you get your chops busted by the locals, especially the tour guides. Um, but that was easily my favorite part of the trip. Um, and I don't, and unfortunately, art wise, I was not like, I liked, I was liking drawing, but it wasn't like in my head yet that that could be like a career I'd shoot for, it would be a few months after where it became a legitimate dream. But yeah, no, I can appreciate that. I last month went to farmhouse with friends of ours for a week, and my daughter and I, we both enjoy drawing, so we both Baton Rouge. Trying to remember if that was part of the trip I had. It's over 30 years, so I didn't pay attention to a lot of the driving through. I just like the thing that stood out was just spending time in New Orleans getting the tour. I'm trying to remember what that was specifically. Like, I just remember like the architecture and everything like looked very nice. Like just kind of just looking at everything in general, like no specific part of specific neighborhood or specific part kind of jumped me. Trying to remember that if we stopped for food. Again, I'm accessing memories that are over 30 years. Um, how that gets, but yeah, no, it's one of those places I've always kind of wanted to go back to if I ever make my way stateside again. I have to remember to do up my passport. Oh, I bet. I don't suppose you brought like a little sketchbook with you and just kind of took a few minutes to like do a quick sketch of like the view from your hotel room or like from a cafe or anything like that. Um, like I brought a sketchbook to some of the places I've gone, but um, some of the places I've gone lately aren't like an old Gotham. Ooh, yeah, that kind of fits my memory of. But yeah, if I ever take one of those vacations, it might be I might have to remember to bring my sketch pad and do a little sketching there. I still have a thing about like breaking out a sketchbook like at a coffee shop. Oh, please do share that sketchbook when you get home. All right, just trying to think. Let me get my oh geez, painting the lower part here, and I don't even have the camera. I will work this camera thing out one day. You know what I realized that I was meant to draw in here, and then I totally forgot about it. Um, I meant to actually have her in a tattered dress, kind of remind first appearance. That's the other thing about these. Other thing about these kind of outfits, they always kind of destroyed clothes. I always felt bad for characters like this and like the Hulk. Like, clothing gets expensive. And Witchblade owns some nice outfits, only to get chewed up by the Witchblade. I don't remember if that ever happened to the Darkness. It should have happened to the Darkness. Like, he should have done his super villaining and his outfit, and then have to wonder why he now has to walk home naked because his clothes got shredded up. Just saying, a little gender equality, that's all. I think, because I've been going on this for, wow, a solid 2 hours. What time is it now? Oh, it is 3:30 where I'm at. So I think I'm going to start wrapping this up. I might come back when the ink dries and start introducing some color. But for now, oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Clean my brushes with Iron Man. My little Iron Man espresso cup. But yeah, I think I'm going to call this worked out for now. And then I may come back a little late, like maybe do some cleaning when the ink dries a little more, erase all the pencil smudges and all that. And then I don't know what I'm going to do for background, but I might do watercolor background and Copic and Posca's here. But yeah, no, thank you for taking time, this much time out of your vacation just to come and chat with me. No, that's amazing, man. Thank you so much for stopping in, Kirk. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. And yeah, definitely show that sketchbook when you get back home. But yeah, I think I'll call this done for now and see which way I want to go. But yeah, no, thanks for stopping in. And yeah, I hope to do this again real soon. And oh, thank you. And again, thanks for stopping by. And if I don't see you in any while I stream while you're still on vacation, enjoy the rest of your vacation. And thank you for so much for taking this amount of time out of your vacation to come and chat. Great. Have a good day.